No screen?
What, so we can have Google on our faces? Like, are you gonna be like?
Oh, we could stand.
I was going to show them the projects that we
Oh no, definitely. I'll turn it on and off. Like, just holla.
Cool.
What's up, everybody? Chicago Meteor.
Right on. So this is the last meetup of the year, 2015. The next meetup we'll have is in January 2016. I'm feeling older just saying that.
Yeah, you just had a birthday this week too.
Oh, I'm feeling older because of that too.
And
Yep.
yeah,
47 is really old.
Hey, no, Grandpa.
29 forever. 29 forever.
Oh, yeah, I'm older.
No, you don't get. You're not there yet. You can't get credit for what you didn't get to.
So I guess like today we want to do a roundtable wrapping up what we accomplished this year in Meteor and as a community. Yeah, talk about like where we were, what we did, and then where we're going. And we'll just like go down and like introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
And then you want to knock it off then, and we could like have you go through your year and what it was like, and we can ask you questions and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll just go down to Dean and I'll finish. Cool. All right. So I'm Ben Strahan. I work for OK Grow, which is a Meteor development consulting firm. We work with enterprises and startups, and we build Meteor apps only, exclusively. So full stack, and everyone on the team is like a full stack JavaScript developer. And yeah. All right. That's me.
I'm Rishi. I work at Uptake as a software engineer.
Yeah. Do you write anything on the
Yeah.
internet that people might be familiar
I
with?
technically got hired as front end, but I do everything. So
Right on.
He's being modest. He writes Weekly Meteor, right?
oh yeah, that too. I run the Meteor Weekly newsletter, formerly This Week in Meteor, but
We'll get into that.
yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. Cool. I'm Dean Radcliffe. I'll tell you a bit about my history with this meetup and with Meteor later. Currently, I'm working at Test Double out of Columbus, Ohio, and I do node development for them. And I've published one Meteor package that occasionally gives me issues. I mean, people submit issues. That's about it.
I'm Gino. I'm working with cars.com as of this week. It's my first week.
Holla.
I came from One Noise Interactive before that. And I've done some Meteor projects on the side, and then I also on the side, I lease out 3 Tesla Model S's to livery drivers in the city. And I'm trying to get more and keep doing that. And I'm trying to build a Meteor app around that too.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's dive into it.
Yeah.
What did you build with Meteor, man?
I built like really like bare bones, kind of like Uber app. It doesn't have like half the features that Uber does, but the basic things that it had, it dispatched fares, drivers could accept fares, and drivers could start and stop fares, and it would be metered on time and mileage, and and all that stuff.
What was it called?
Watts on Wheels is the name of my small business.
Like electric watts.
Yeah. I never released anything to the App Store, but it's like a mobile app that's at app.wattsonwheels.com. I'm actually getting excited about it again. There's been like a few months or more of like a complete lull where I haven't touched it. Things have gotten out of sync. I moved the server once, and now the database is a little bit screwed up. But what I want to do is I want to redo things now with Meteor 1.2 and just go back to my original goal, which was dispatch fares to people with drivers driving Teslas. And I'm looking for help. If anybody wants to help, equal 50-50 split and all revenue and all that. There's some pretty decent money to be made. It's like think of it as a small business, not a startup just yet.
So I remember like a year ago, it was my first meetup coming ever to, and it was over at Catalyst Ranch, and Dean presented, I presented, and you demoed Lots on Wheels for the first time
Yeah.
a year ago.
And then he like ran outside or something to try to like, go.
I think we were gonna do that, but I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was pretty hot. Like a year ago, I had like animations going for it. You had
I was experimenting with a lot of stuff. This was also my first project really in software development. I came from civil engineering. So when I found Meteor, I was like, wow, here's the only thing in the world I can use right now that will let me build a full featured app all by myself. And it worked. There's a lot of parts of it that never got fully built out, and that's why I want to kind of start over and just pull out what's good from it. But it worked, and under good use cases. I was making money in my sleep, which was fun. Not a lot, just a few figures. Right, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember what version of Meteor?
I think I started at 0.7,
Okay.
but really shortly after that, it had gone to 0.8.
Okay. 0.8 was big. 0.93 was really big.
Yeah, I had to do the whole terrible fix your app for 0.9 thing.
But like you lived through all that,
Uh-huh.
all the iteration, all the stuff. You had Stripe integration.
Stripe.
That was pretty impressive.
That was my favorite part, making money.
Very important package, I'm sure, on
Yeah.
Atmosphere.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
but that was before Atmosphere.
Yeah.
How did you find
It was before Atmosphere, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
That was Meteorite.
use the command line?
Oh,
tool?
yeah, Meteorite. Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
When a year ago becomes
So
like
old
old school,
We were just talking about that, right? All JavaScript that's like 18 months old is like considered like way
Legacy.
legacy.
Yeah.
Like this year, there's been so much coming out. Like React wasn't even a thing that was released a year ago.
Yeah.
There was, like,
January
some
was the
merge.
conference where they
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it
Yep.
January?
January of this year.
I think it was released, but it didn't
Radar.
take flight. Yeah.
Yeah. No one was talking about it at Meteor Day.
Oh.
No.
No.
The ARM framework was one of the first to use React.
Right, the Clojure
Whatever class
community
Clojure is.
of all places was popularizing it. And then I was I discovered Meteor, I was like a reactive fanboy before React was a thing. And so there was a library called Ract. There was Meteor, the reactive full stack JavaScript database. I was following all these little libraries and picking apart what they all do differently. And then Facebook React, I saw it appear, and I'm like, oh, you want a piece of this too? No way, this is going anywhere. And so yeah, I've been famously wrong a few times.
Well, talking about famous, I mean, there was a lot.
Famously wrong.
There was a lot of front ends this year.
There's a nice segue.
I mean,
nice
there
segue
was-
for
yeah.
us. Week.
I mean, talk about front ends.
Famously
We were
wrong.
like, yeah.
Famously wrong.
One totally crashed and burned. The other one kind of took off.
For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Famous was this, I guess, a UI library for.
Frank, you want to come up and talk about Famous?
You want to talk about that?
Let's play the
This is
violin.
Frank.
This is the
Hi,
this is
I'm
the
Frank.
eulogy of
The
famous. right
eulogy
now.
of Famous. Famous is about a 3-year effort at a JavaScript framework to get 60 frames per second real time in web development.
Yeah.
To make it easy that you don't have to get your hands dirty with Swift coding or Android Davlik. And they just crashed and burned utterly. They got a total of $30 million in funding.
30 million. That's an
30
interesting number.
minutes. Super swanky office.
The last round of funding was a big 20 or 25 million hunk. Oh, swanky everything. Members of the node.js board, they took over jQuery, promised everything, delivered Jack. Okay. And they built a good framework, but they trickled down on the developers, aka pissed on them, where they kept changing the framework, similar to going from Angular 1 to Angular 2. You throw away all your code. So it's a total disaster. So there's opportunity for anybody who want to take over Famous. Dive in.
Somebody called Infamous worked it.
But that's a disaster of Famous. There was an article this weekend that came out, I think, in Forbes that Duke, his name is Nukem, but I call him Duke Nukem, whatever Steve Nukem's name is, saying mea culpa. We had no revenue stream. We were trying to take an open source product and make it revenue from it. I mean, look how successful Joyent's been with node.js. But they started with a revenue flowing product, but they built a par excellent node.js framework. And I'm hoping for the same success of Meteor, that they can have the similar success to your joint.
Get some money going.
To the joy, yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Talking about another JavaScript framework platform that has another 30 million in funding, Meteor. So,
Dude.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think they've gotten much farther than famous with their money.
Yeah, there's a way to make money already.
Mm-hmm.
Start with Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dean, who are you, man?
Who am I? Oh man. So let me tell you the not too rehearsed history of this meetup. So I was like looking at all reactive stuff, and something comes up about Meteor, and then
About how long ago was that?
about 14, 15 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe it's a little bit more than that. And then, so I came to, there was a Meteor Meetup here that Pallavi was running. And
She's from Google, right?
she has gone to Google. She's from MIT, like the Meteor people. I feel like they put something in the water in Boston that like makes people like, reactive. No, I mean, because like Meteor, I don't know, it's just...
I'm glad we got that on video, right?
Yeah, cut that.
Make it.
No, that was ridiculous. No, but like, yeah, there were a lot of in the know people who were kind of following this like reactive thread, and I discovered it, and I was like, okay, I'll come to this Meteor Meetup. It was very cool, and Pallavi did some great demos, and then she said that she had to take a break from the meetup to have her child. And that's really cool. And this isn't the announcement. We can talk more about it later. But like, I am also taking a break from this meetup.
Well, so you took it over and you held the torch for like a year.
Yeah. So that's basically.
And you did a great job, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I was like, come hell or high water, I'm gonna just keep doing this. I was working at Opinion Lab, and they paid for Catalyst Ranch for many meetups. That was really great. It was a good open space to congregate. So I think October was the first one I hosted. November was World Meteor Day. That's the first time that you came.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first meetup, Rishi?
My first meetup here? No, I
It wasn't World Meteor Day though?
don't. No,
He was out in San
I think it was
Francisco.
before that because
Oh.
I definitely came here before that, but Meteor Day I was in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. What was your first? It was around World Meteor Day.
It was
the
a
time that
couple
Ben
before
came.
that.
Oh, it was a couple before that. Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, I think 2 before the World Meteor Day.
Yeah.
Did we have like the third or fourth largest turnout for that World Meteor Day?
We were. It's to London and New York, I think, were the two that beat us. There's 42 people in the photograph, the panorama that I took, there were 42 people there. And so then then I think then there was kind of like, so there's kind of like what I consider like a solo phase, because I was just getting to know everyone at the meetup, and there was like a lot of churn. And then it kind of stabilized into the, Ben, Ryan Glover, and me, and Rishi, and Gino being like the regulars.
Yeah.
And Ashton as well. And we could, kind of like if someone couldn't make it, like other people could come. So it kind of started to become like a real team of people running it. And now with a couple of us needing to step out, right now I'm psyched that there are those who will come and keep it going in the new year. And hopefully with the renewed sense of like, do with what you want. If TechNexus is where you want to host it, that might, still be an option. If there's a different place, then by all means take it to where it's, fits the best. Shoot, man, we did. Then Ben, you started the work day, half day, like Monday, like work together. Like
that was like 6 months later, yeah, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm
That
kind
was
of all out
so-
of order here, but
That was, yeah. But like you did some interesting stuff. So like at Opinion Labs, you started trying to integrate Meteor, or at least the Meteor technology, in different ways. You were one of the first guys that was like really like trying to break it apart. and seeing what it was ticket. What
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
I found that it was a tall order to get an enterprise, much like the one that I'm consulting for now. They're a Node.js shop. Opinion Lab had some Node.js, and they also had a lot of Ruby. Ruby was probably their most comfortable place. But I said, Meteor, because, you're helping me with this meetup, and I'll be able to recruit people for it. And they're like, they like the idea, but they were only comfortable up to the point of Node initially. So I'd be like doing some stuff in Node, and I hadn't discovered promises yet, but I knew about fibers. And I was like, hey, why don't you just pull in this fibers package so that you can do Meteor-like coding in Node? And then they're like, okay. And then I'm like, oh, why don't you also pull in this other thing so that you can do this stuff on the client side? And because they were not going to Mongo. Just that is a deal breaker for a lot of companies. And so that's not the only supported one, but if you mention it to a CIO kind of person and he looks up, what's Meteor made of, and they're like, Mongo is what it supports, that just might be the end of the conversation for you right now. So in order to kind of get better penetration, and so this is a kind of a message that I have never want to say to MDG, particularly with the Galaxy plan that they have. They say they're targeting enterprise customers. It's hard to get enterprise customers to not only adopt the full stack, but then the vendor for hosting. So I really think that the way to get MVPs is to offer a full stack, like they're doing. And the way to get enterprise customers is to be able to sell them little parts of the stack and then get them hooked on bigger stuff. So, they definitely know better than me as far as how they're pricing it and who their audience is.
Yeah.
That's my message in my experience of a couple different companies, wishing that I could get media. It's like, hey, I'm already working in Node. Why can't I get media into these companies? And the indivisibility of Meteor is one of those reasons. And I know people will say that it's not indivisible, but to the stakeholders that I've talked to, they can say right.
It sounds like it's not so much maybe the indivisibility, but just the Mongo integration, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that's a big part.
That's part of the indivisibility.
Yeah, but if it's just Mongo, then I don't know.
They probably would have bought, the idea.
They started with the Mongo, now Redis. Redis databases first.
And Postgres.
But when they also, Postgres, but with Postgres they include an SQL similar to mini Mongo.
Right.
Or mini SQL. Now I think in version 1.5 or somewhere in that direction, when they include SQL as a first class reactive native citizen, they'll get more serious attention.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the next few months are going to be very telling.
Support DBPs using another database?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think what Dean said is pretty interesting. So right now, Meteor's a full stack implementation, and it's really good for greenfield projects, starting from scratch. But what if you have an existing one and you just want Meteor to take a chunk of it, or add reactivity or some richness to an existing app? You can't really do that right now. So it's almost like an all or nothing. It's hard to get buy-in for that, especially for enterprise. They got tons of apps going and talking to one another, and so it is an uphill battle. And I think this whole year has been defined by developers really liking the development environment of Meteor, but then at the same time, and it's cutting edge and all that stuff, and it's challenging and it's fun. It meets all the check marks for a developer and what they want. But it's hard to make money, right? Or sell it, or start working with the big companies, because it doesn't make business sense in a lot of senses, because it's greenfield only pretty much right now.
Yeah, and then also the web sockets and the sticky sessions. If you can go to Heroku, you can definitely get that. If you can go to Galaxy, you can definitely get that. If you're kind of rolling your own, then
AWS, it's a little more difficult.
Yeah, it's Galaxy is the class of product that it is, because they're solving hard problems that you probably don't want to solve on your own if you have those problems of scale. So yeah, so yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting.
Interesting year.
I have occasionally updated. So there's the package that I ended up kind of doing the most work on in the Meteor community was this package on promises, which I've talked to death, and I'm not going to talk it to death here.
Dude, I think it's a message that needs to be spoken.
All right.
I remember like 4 months in, after the first one, and we were all sitting around. You were talking about your chess game.
Right.
Remember that presentation?
Yeah.
And Gino, I think you asked, like, I constantly am getting this wrap async error. How do we get around this? And everyone was like, yeah, we get the same error. What is that? And all that stuff. And it was awesome, Dean. Like you took that, and now you're like a master of like promises and asynchronous code. And all that stuff.
I've stared the dragon down and gone to the depths.
So doesn't that help with your node.js specialization
Well, so
now?
that's exactly like the philosophy is that of where I've spent my time in the last year. So
Do you have the clicker?
yeah, here's the clicker.
I got your packages up.
Oh, you're gonna put them right on the.
How did you do this?
It was the.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah. So my philosophy was like, I'm excited about Meteor. It's great, and I'm definitely going to put some of my time into working with it. But like, there's stuff that's in common with node.js ecosystem and Meteor ecosystem, right? So if you're writing JavaScript, this has been a crazy year for JavaScript. So actually, we should talk a little bit about ES 2015, ES 6. Which has like come out this year in like Meteor 1.2, because I put a lot of effort into learning the new version of JavaScript, because that effort was well spent if I stayed with Meteor, it was well spent if I didn't stay with Meteor. And promises and async, and even fibers to a lesser extent, like that knowledge and a mastery of that is valuable no matter which JavaScript environment you're in, right? And so that's why I haven't publish something as awesome as simple form, or as de rigueur, that every new application collection hooks, right? There's a lot of these packages that like people publish that are Meteor packages, and they're totally awesome, and everyone uses them, and to a far greater extent than like the Promise package with like the 1500 or whatever, but it was because I wanted to spend my time in a way that, like, if I needed to pivot back to Node, like, I'd have something for it, And in fact, the simple form, for example, isn't that coupled to Blaze, right? So it's like simple form is a great concept. Autoform, yeah, right. Autoform. Simple schema, autoform.
Yep.
So those are great projects, but if you had invested a lot of time in building a project on top of Blaze, then it seems like the winds are blowing. I don't know which view engine. I don't know which router engine to recommend to new developers. And so if I had built a package on top of one of those, and then all of a sudden, and I had the experience when I was consulting with OK Grow. They have a really great auto scroll package, which kind of does something that the routers should do internally about scrolling pages, but they don't. So I'd highly recommend OK Grow Auto Scroll, which used to be called OK Grow Iron Router Auto Scroll. And then it's up for debate.
There's a lot of stories going on here.
I know. Somebody stop me.
Who here worked with Meteor in the past and is familiar with Blaze? What Blaze is? Okay, so Blaze is like another like view engine, just like React and Angular. Yeah, and it's really it started off with handlebars, and then they kind of rolled their own after that. But that was like all you got at first with Meteor, before like Angular integration with it, and now React. And so everyone like was like, okay, Meteor's awesome. Hey, we got to work with Blaze. Okay, let's work with it. And so then all these packages came out, like Autoforms, which is like the go-to form package, and simple schema and collection hooks and all this stuff that's specific to like either Blaze or the Meteor ecosystem. And so then naturally, and this is the site that we're on, Atmosphere came out, and it's a package manager just for Meteor. So all of a sudden there's like this cultish mentality that like Meteor is your whole stack. You can't choose your database, we choose it for you. We handle the server, we also handle the client. We have our own client renderer called Blaze.
Yeah.
You don't have access to Node because we handle that for you. You got to work with fibers, and here's our own package manager. So like when we were talking about like how it's hard for enterprise to like take this serious, even though it's an awesome environment, they did a good job packaging everything up for developers. It's pretty much. It's not Legos, man. It's like a literal like toy that you get on Christmas that you can't take apart. So once you're done playing with it. But as the year has gone by, we've really seen things kind of break up. And that is probably the big story here. React, Angular, official support of those two, really rocking the question about databases. And now the big debate is Webpack, coming out
really
in the
the
build
build tool.
system.
Yeah.
And so
How the build tool works.
and so Dean's whole foresight of like thinking like, all right, there's this Meteor stuff, and then there's this like universal node stuff. That's kind of like the core of what you're getting.
Yeah, I'm trying to hug it as close to the universal node stuff as I can.
And that was a good call.
Yeah.
It's coming. Like I see it coming. There's like great stuff.
Oh, I should also mention that if anyone's interested in becoming the maintainer of Dean as promised, just talk to me after the meetup. You can get your
that's
own
interesting.
MDG.
I want to hear about that right now, Dean. What's going on? What's the future hold, man?
Hey, I just learned, Christmas is coming up, and I've learned that in order to get, you have to give. So I want to give the community a present of all the issues and pull requests. And I'm
doing a little dance, okay.
Yeah, no, it's actually don't get very many issues. I wish people would submit more issues so that I could, hear what people want and grow it. It's not a huge burden actually, but it's been fun to do that. So one of the things that's interesting, man, has anyone heard of the Atmosphere? Okay, so let me throw out a few Atmosphere names. LD.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other one? MRT.
How about Raix?
Raix.
Yeah.
Raix push.
Yeah, push.
You see the push notification?
He did a lot of famous stuff. Yeah.
Oh, so he's an integrator kind of person.
Yeah, and they work together now at Dispatch Me. LD and Raix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I spoke with this dispatch.
Were you the one doing the interview on that one?
Yeah.
I don't think I did. Yeah.
The microservices thing.
Well, talk about your community involvement in this last year. Past your packages.
Yeah, well, actually, the community is great. Like I was explaining to Test Double, Meteor is a really neat integrated system to get started on, and nobody gets isomorphic JavaScript better than Meteor. I've now been on Node before Meteor, and I've been on Node after, in recent months. And
does everyone know what isomorphic means?
Isomorphic Java. That means
top to bottom.
Yeah, reuse your code client server easily. Just deal with client and server round trips, not params parsing or anything like that. So the community involvement has been great. With Space Camp. And
Space Camp was great.
Yeah. That was the trip in the Smoky Mountains of Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Everyone was itching for a Meteor conference. MDG was like, we're getting to it. And then Josh Owens, one of the big guys from Ohio, was like, I'm going to do it. But he wasn't allowed to use the word conference.
Right.
So he used it's an unconference.
Unconference.
And it was great. It happened
that was
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was 3 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it's been
3 weeks.
time warp since then. Yeah. So yeah, I think for me, I needed to have some sort of package out there just to feel like I was part of it, but that's totally not required. But like I said, if you're interested, you can take mine over. But that's only a part of it. Like that's silly because like even just being part of the discussion and like being in the Slack rooms.
Discussion is big.
People are building stuff like friggin', Uber in a few months. Like Gino built Uber in a few months, essentially.
Half.
Half of Uber. I mean, so you probably can't control the Spotify playlist of the driver.
And by the way, I watched a talk from an Uber engineer on some talk on YouTube I found, and their entire real-time stuff is all built in Node, which I thought was good to know.
Yeah.
That is good. Node's fast. I mean,
It's scalable.
you can make Node scale for sure.
And that's like the backbone of like your promises package. Like you got to get async if you're going to get Node. That's really like where it becomes scalable.
Yeah.
So like you kind of segued a little bit into podcasting
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
So you did the Meteor podcast.
Yeah, man. So right. I mean, Josh has hosted the two big, long-running podcasts, I think, in the community, and it's been dueling co-hosts, right, Ben? It's been like
I'm like the third co-host on the Meteor podcast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but you were the one that like had the guts to usher Rye out. I'm kidding.
And good riddance to you, Rai.
Yeah. So for the longest time, Rye Walker, Josh Owens, they ran the Meteor podcast, and Rye is like killing it now. Like he moved away from consulting to startup, and he has a startup with AngelPad right now. And he's just like killing it, and he's killing it so much he doesn't have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
But Dean stepped in and was an awesome co-host on the Meteor podcast, which is a weekly news of Crater, which is like a Reddit for Meteor stuff. Yeah. So like each week, talk about that.
Yeah, so that's the Creator podcast, and then there's the Meteor Club podcast, which is the longer format. Wasn't there a page, MDG made a list of all the podcasts
Yes.
that are going on in the community?
Yeah.
I think they had a blog post about it.
Yeah.
So now why did you get into podcasts, Ben?
Why did I?
Yeah.
It's all part of my master plan. I'll get to it after Rishi.
Why did you get into Meteor article writing, Rishi?
Article writing? All right.
Rishi, what have you been up to this year, man?
So, all right.
A year ago, you were
we'll
in
go
San
to a
Francisco.
year ago when I was at San Francisco. I was going through a hack reactor there. Best time. And while I was there, that's when Meteor Day happened. It was in November, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, Meteor Day, I was like, I'm very close to the office, might as well go to the office. And it was kind of crazy. There were a ton of people there, so much so that I didn't get there in time and I had to go upstairs. So they have two different floors, and the first one was completely filled. You could not get in. And so you had to go upstairs and watch off a live streaming TV for what's going on right below you. But it was a really interesting experience. Like, you went there, met a bunch of people, met the core developers, got some very interesting discussion. I think that's when I talked to former MDG member Slava about how SQL might end up working, and found a bunch of complicated problems with that.
Yeah. Joins and
Yeah, that was the biggest one. Joins and transactions. And then a little bit after that, I ended up giving a small intro to Meteor course while at Hack Reactor to students there, just to expose them to it. Because I was on the hype, still am, so I might as well spread the word. And after that, that's when I started working at Differential. Differential's a agency in Cincinnati that basically only does media work. And while I was there, I started doing this thing where I would read like Crater, comb through like GitHub commits. I was going very far in depth, and I still do, in like what Meteor's doing, what's going on in the community, what's going on in core. And I decided like to just like write it up and show it to people internally. And so after about a week or two, it was 2 weeks of that, and they're like, why don't you turn this into a newsletter? I'm like, that's a great idea.
yeah.
We might as well do that. So that's where This Week in Meteor spawned. And then forward to about a month ago.
And that was an instant hit, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. This week
I mean,
in
that
Meteor
really
took
took
off. Because I go like heads down, research for hours, and I tend to find a lot of things that most people don't even notice, like hidden branches that are being worked on that don't have pull requests open, and something that wasn't supposed to be published.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
secrets.
Yeah. Use the source.
Exactly. And so about a month ago, we had some disagreements, and now I'm no longer writing for This Week in Meteor. I now run my own newsletter called Meteor Weekly, which is right there.
Let me get that going for you, bro.
Yeah. So I'm still doing the same kind of content, diving deep, and reporting on it. A bunch of people like it, so if you want to keep up to date without having to comb through like I do every week, like you can just subscribe. And I like doing analysis. I don't just post links.
Yeah.
So like how it affects the community, how it affects everything. But yeah, that's the newsletter part of it.
I get a lot of newsletters in my inbox. Yours is the only one that I'm like super excited to see when it comes to it.
That's
like,
probably because you know.
Ever since the day one when you started doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It provides an insight that like no other newsletter does. So you guys should totally go to meteorweekly.com and sign up right now. You won't regret it. Yeah. All things Meteor. I don't know, man, you do something unique that other people don't do on news reporting. You know, especially going through the commits and all stuff. And just like a one paragraph.
I find that fun because I find little things that are like not being talked about, and that's usually where I expose them. Sometimes I go to a core developer and I'm like, Sachko, should I talk about this? Is this okay?
You cut all the noise out and you help me to know what to focus on. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
And so you've done like workshops, live workshops, where you're introducing people to Meteor, like live.
Yeah, I've done intro to Meteor, I think 4 times now. So like I did it once at Hack Reactor. I did it once at my old college, IIT.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it once in my company already. It's like one of the first things I did.
Yeah. Maybe I could have gotten Meteor adopted at one of these companies if I had you come in. And do like
cool with that.
So are you available to talk to companies right now?
I mean,
Can you like put it out there? Be like, are you going to do some lunch and learns as long as you don't pay for the lunch?
I mean, I guess so, but that's not always easy. It depends on the work schedule, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to do that. I could even like help you guys get ready for doing something like that. It's really not too hard to do intro. You don't need to like go too far in depth, right? You just need to understand the basic concepts, how they would work, maybe go over like an architecture diagram. It's not too hard, speaking from experience.
And how many months did you have with Meteor by the time you gave your first,
All right.
intro to Meteor? A few, right? Just
Almost a year.
almost a year?
I've known about Meteor ever since like the first press release came out.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
what was that?
0.5?
Yeah, 0.5. Yeah, I've been looking into it ever since then.
Okay, well I'll pivot because that's awesome. But I'll pivot to like when I gave like the chess example, the 35-line CoffeeScript application that I did for Meteor, and I gave the presentation at Chicago JavaScript first. Maybe I wanted like an audience that like I didn't go to all the time or wasn't I didn't want to mess it up at Meteor night. But I'm like, hey, Chicago JavaScript, but they loved it. But I'd been doing it for like maybe 6 weeks. And then like the last like week and a half I took the chess application that I made and kind of figured out how to demo it, you know, and stuff. So like, I guess my point is like, even if you're kind of new to it, like teaching someone how to do it can be, or writing a blog post about how you did it, or the screencast can be. You're never too early to do that, I don't think.
Yeah, in terms of an intro, that's the whole point. You don't need to necessarily teach them everything. You just need to show them what it's about.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Meteor is it's easy to get the wow factor. when you're talking to people.
Yeah, you're like two browser screens. Watch, it's changing on the other.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or like you got a mobile app and you're changing, and people are like, and like to see how much code, like how little code it took to get that going.
Yeah, one thing I did was make a little demo chat app that people could look at. So I would run it locally and be like, go on your phones, go on your laptops, go to this and start typing. And it would work. It's like, what was it, like 30 lines of code? It wasn't even that much.
Real time's easy.
Yeah, for a change. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So like, what's 2016 look like for you, man?
2016.
What did you take on just now?
Well, I'm going to continue to push Node and Meteor at my current job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because it's a pretty big application that can't just be rewritten at this point, but maybe in the future. One thing I really want to get more involved in is like improving Meteor Core. Like I started doing that on the side. I found a small little bug with like Blaze and I'm trying to fix that. Ran into a really weird issue that I don't know how to debug. But I want to get more involved in actually working on Meteor Core because I feel like if community members get more involved with that and point out larger issues, like that's how things get fixed.
Yeah. What about this meetup, man?
This meetup, oh right. So I'm gonna be helping run this meetup with Ryan Glover, who is not here today.
But he's really big in the community. He runs
Yep.
the Meteor.
Oh,
Meteor
good. You
Chef.
got that already. Good, good. I definitely wanted to give Ryan some props for.
Yeah, so Ryan Glover is the
like
Meteor
probably
Chef.
the best damn. I'm gonna probably get in trouble with some friends of mine, but this is like Ryan runs a killer blog for Meteor stuff.
We're speaking up for our Chicago peeps.
Yeah, hell yeah, and he does a killer job too. He's probably writing an article now. That's why he's not here.
Actually,
Yeah.
probably.
I think he even pays for his font.
For his font.
Yeah.
Whoa, like.
No way.
I looked at his font. I think it's like a licensed font. It's not
Well,
a
he's-
Google font.
So like Ryan, he started as a designer, straight out just designer. He worked for a consulting firm from Canada, and he was the designer, front end designer for them for Tumblr themes. And that's how he started. And then he came across Meteor, and he like really gravitated to this full stack environment, and getting the Node and JavaScript. And
Yep.
oh my gosh, his year has just been insane.
Yeah, his tutorials and articles are so far in depth that you will know everything once you're done reading through it. Like I doubt you'll have any questions.
Yeah, like it's like you come across his new post on Twitter or Crater, and it's like long enough that you actually want to set aside some time
Yeah.
to do, and it's worth it. Like you want to get paid and take Stripe in your applications, like it's worth the time. Like take as long as you need. By the time you get to the end of it, you will know your stuff. It's very good. Anyone else with a design background here? No? Not here, currently. Okay. It's some of the first Meteor meetups, like I was like, raise your hand if you've come to programming through design and JavaScript. How many people have been coming to programming through Meteor and through JavaScript? No, yeah, one. Okay. All right. I thought, no, you have done access programming before. But anyway, that's one of the things I like about the community. It does find a lot of creative, like designer types who are just like, this is easy enough. I can make this work, you know.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon, like, you know, you pair programming with someone for a week, and then you find out, like, oh, you have a design background too. Like, you're good at programming, you know. Like, I've had that experience many times. And,
Like, you came from a design background, didn't you?
I always was like a wannabe entrepreneur. And so like I knew HTML and CSS and how to start up a WordPress site. You know, like minimal DevOps with that. And I knew that for like 3 years, and I would just like hack stuff together, do like MVPs and stuff, and that was right when WordPress was like turning into CMS really, and a lot of the plugins that they had like really made it robust and all that stuff. So I was like, oh hell yeah, stick with it. But it was always slow and just wasn't fast enough. It was just too fat. And then I had an opportunity at the company I was working for, they wanted a job reporting application, a real-time reporting application where they grab data from the field, which we have, like, it was a construction site company, and they had thousands of projects running all over the world.